Welcome to another interview with VC Bob. I am Amie, I'm the editor of Label, and we're doing an interview in collaboration with LSUTV about the elections that are currently coming up, so we'll get straight into it. Why are the elections important for the general student population?
I think they're important primarily because it gives the students the opportunity to identify individuals that they want to lead their organisation and, where appropriate, represent them to the university. I'll give you an example of that. The president of LSU sits on council, which is the university's governing body, and also sits on Senate, which is the supreme academic body of the university. But I think there's something else which is important as well. You know, we're hugely privileged in this country. We live in a democracy. And some students who come to study at Loughborough come from countries in parts of the world where that is not the case. And so it's about all of the students here having the right to exercise their democratic right. And I think, of course, we take that as read as British citizens. But for some of our students, it'll be the first time they've had the opportunity to do that. And they may have to return to countries where they don't have that privilege. And so in a sense, it's introducing them to something which is important as a point of principle, as well as the opportunity they have in terms of choosing their representatives.
With that in mind then, I mean, how do you think these elections are going to impact the future for the union and the university?
So we're extraordinarily lucky at Loughborough, and I think there's something here which I can say, which vice-chancellors in other universities can't, and it's a privilege to be able to say it. We have the reputation, not just in this country, but as far away as Australia, as having the best relationship between the Students' Union and the university. Now, let me be clear, I don't mean we're in each other's pockets. The university and the Students' Union are two legally separate entities. And where appropriate, the sabbatical officers and others challenge the university, and they give us advice and guidance, which results in us thinking quite carefully and sometimes changing some of the things that we're doing. But at the same time, we work very, very closely on areas where we have a shared student interest. If you think about it, the university and the union have the same constituents. They're Loughborough students, and we have a shared responsibility for those students. It's just we come at that responsibility from slightly different angles. And I think we do that better than any other university in this country. And all of the people who are standing for election and the people who are going to vote for them need to recognise that. Because if we maintain that, the preeminent reputation that Loughborough has for things like its student experience will be something that other universities will continue to be unable to match.
Thinking of student experience and considering events that have happened in the past month or so, what are some kind of important issues that you'd like to see candidates discussing over these elections?
So there are some things which are long-term, and there are some things that are right here, right now. Let me give you a couple of examples of both of them. In the long term, there's something about the reputation of the university and where we sit within the broader UK higher education system. Loughborough has an outstanding reputation right now. That's taken a while to build, but could be very easily damaged. So there's something about working for the long term to maintain that reputation. Another example is the link that we have between the primary reason someone applies to a university, i.e. to read for a degree, but the importance of the wider student experience. And we vest quite a bit of this in the Students' Union and let them take the lead. And those are things where there's quite a long burn, so much so that the responsibility has got to be passed from one generation of students to the next. So let me give a specific example that those being elected might want to be quizzed or discuss. We are committed to building a new Students' Union. We are committed to do our best to find between 30 and 35 million pounds to do that. What should that building look like? And I don't mean physically what should it look like, but what is the concept of a 21st century students' union which Loughborough students this year, next year, 5 years, 10 years' time can be really proud of because it's the best students' union in the country. And I think it would be really interesting for the candidates to debate not what the physical structure looks like, but the concept of a students' union going forward. Let me come to something that's right here, right now, and I'll give you two of them. One is student mental health. That's something that you and I both know is right up at the top of the agenda at the moment. That is something where the university and the students' union must work together for the benefit of all of our students, but in particular, those students that occasionally have moments of crisis. And the other one, to some degree, and in using this phrase, I'm not just referring to the male, the lad culture. There are many aspects. In fact, I would say 99.9% of the time, I am proud of every single Loughborough student. But you only need 0.1% of the students to do something that's rather silly 0.1% of the time, and I will leave you and the other people who are following the elections to think through what that is for them, and that can be quite a challenge and it can be quite damaging. And I think understanding where those who are being elected or hope to be elected come from on some of those issues would be very interesting. Why? Because they set the standard. What do I mean by that? One of my roles as the Vice-Chancellor is to identify and set a set of values and appropriate standards for the university, which I'm seen to set and hopefully others will recognise. Give you an example of that. One of the things that you and other people have probably heard me say is, for students and staff who want to come and work here, I don't care. And by don't care, I don't mean I have no interest. I mean, it is of no relevance whether they're male or female, LGBT plus, straight, what their skin colour is, what their culture is. I have no interest in those things. All I want are people who want to come here, who can make a valuable contribution to our community and can take something away from that community. So when they leave, particularly students when they graduate, can go on and meet their aspirations in life. That is a value that we have. And I think that would be an interesting debating point for those who are standing for election as well.
So thinking of that, what are your kind of final tips and ideas for the candidates that are running?
So I would say be honest and think carefully. Be absolutely certain that you're standing for the right reasons. But I think most importantly, and I would say this is probably the most significant thing that all the candidates need to be thinking of right here, right now, is remember, if you're elected, you have been elected to represent 17,800 students on 2 campuses, one of this country's top 10 universities. That, you should not underestimate, is a huge responsibility, and I think you've got to understand, and I'm sure the candidates do, that if they are elected, with that responsibility comes a huge amount of work and very significant personal sacrifice to do the right things, not for you, but for the people who've put their trust in you and who've elected you to office.
Brilliant. Hopefully they'll watch and see the advice. Thank you very much for that. And thank you for watching. I'm sure we'll see you soon.
I shall look forward to it.